Well, let's change things up today, why don't we?
Let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. And is OBS working right now? No, it is not. Hold on. Let's do that. Yes. Oh, that's the quick fix. Okay, I figured it out now. OBS, I'm on to you. Anyways, I want to be wishing you a happy hump day in your life because, well, it's a 24/7 weekend right now. Anyways, for most people who are dealing with this whole dilemma going on in the world, I do have a few updates for my own self before we get into the actual analysis. More bad news for me. Well, somewhat bad news, I suppose. Elsa's feeling a lot better. She's been really appreciative of all of the well wishes that everyone's been sending her. That was fucking amazing, fucking awesome. And she's finished, so she's like never had, a stranger wish her well before in her life. She's smiling once again, so that's even good. On top of that, I may or may not be on Twitch today. I'm not so sure just yet. I do have a few errands to take care of. Answering a shit ton of Discord DMs. I would humbly request, unless if it's like absolutely urgent or absolutely important, please do not message me on Discord. Please do not email me. Please do not do any of that. I know it sounds a little bit kind of arrogant to ask not for for that, but please understand that it's really difficult to get through a lot of these things right now. Well, I hope that we can connect when I'm live on a Twitch session or something like that. That's kind of like the purpose for it. Anyways, okay, let's actually talk about some cryptocurrency analysis right now, or maybe just general markets. As I did say, I want to change it up a little bit. A little bit of forewarning today is going to maybe be a little bit more focused on traditional markets rather than Bitcoin, as we haven't really seen anything change from the medium or higher term timeframes. Obviously, the lower term timeframes slogging around, but I do believe that we're kind of caught in one of those molasses areas where it's not all that interesting, to be quite honest with you. Anyways, speaking of interest, open interest back above 700 million, which is interesting as we do. Jeez, I can't help myself with that word. Which is interesting as we see Bitcoin kind of come down a little bit. So positions are starting to be a little bit more accumulated, and I do believe that we're going to see that slowly but surely kind of rise up. And realistically, what I'm looking for is a shot up of above, of like about 50 to 100 million on top of where we are right now. So 750 to 800 million plus a break of the medium time frame range, which we'll discuss in just a second here. But for right now, once again, pressure is on, and I do believe that that's more or less showing the way here. Anyways, on top of that, all of our top end metrics right here are pretty much the same and have been pretty much the same for the last fucking 2 weeks. Fear and greed index still ticking at a 19. I don't know how much I trust that. That would be bullish though. That would be the one thing that is actually quite bullish. Anyways, with that in the back of our minds, I do want to go over here to our price action charts. We did get a pretty lackluster close on the daily yesterday. It is kind of shaping up for a little bit of a short-term pop to the upside. I do think lower term timeframes are more or less inconsequential here. We're probably going to see, we did see, sorry, let me go to the chart that we've been following. We did see a move all the way down to our lower blue box of destiny right here. After that, what happens? Bounce back up to our upper end of blue box of destiny. This is all short-term time frame bullshit. Although, more importantly, and I need to be very deliberately clear with separating them short-term, medium-term, and higher-term time frames, because whenever I read the comments, I feel like that's where I probably get misheard the most. Because I know that I don't do the best job of explaining myself or expressing myself. Sometimes I can be a little bit lazy and fast. But to make this hopefully as deliberately clear as possible, short-term is not related to the medium or long term, because you can be short term bullish, medium and long term bearish. Isn't that crazy? Anyways, it's like people expect the market to happen in one fucking day. It does, or even 1 hour. The market doesn't even happen in 1 month, let alone 3. So with regards to what we're looking at right here, I do think that Bitcoin is probably going to threaten another move back up to the top side of the short-term range, maybe 7,100. I would be looking for that to be actionable if we do see a 4-hour total closure above, let's call it 6950-ish region. And then, yes, I would be looking for a move back up into this guy right here, test this liquid zone, about 7,100-ish region, give or take about $25 there. Again, only relevant to the short-term timeframes. Could probably do it even on a 2-hour. And of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but realistically, the reason why price action is getting more and more interesting from where we are right now is because we are getting close to a resolution point below this blue box territory right here at about 6,700. As long as Bitcoin's above there, I don't really see any major massive move to be ahead to the downside, but that's still the relevant area as far as I'm concerned towards tipping the time bomb, or just dumping hey, dump. Anyways, to the upside, same area still as well. I'm not saying that it's not possible to get back above this region at 7,300, but it does look a little bit less likely to me. I do see that Bitcoin has a very obvious and clear downtrend resistance coming in from our last high at about 74, now coming in around 7,250, and that current trajectory would be right around about 7,200 and declining over time. So overall, I do think that the odds are just slowly but surely kind of drifting in the favor of the bears, which we should be able to see with the expected moves chart with regards to historic volatility percentile. Overall, though, I think we're kind of in for like a little bit of a boring phase here. You know how Bitcoin acts, right? Where I mean, if you've been in this market for even like 6 months to a year, you have a pretty damn good idea of how Bitcoin acts. To be quite honest with you, as whenever we have like a phase shift, usually takes about a month, maybe 1 month to about 3 months, doing one of these consolidations on the highs or lows, and then about a couple weeks of trending action. Last one was right in over here for about a month. The last one before that was for a couple months right in over here, about a month over here, 3 months on this top right here, 3 months on this bottom right here, 3 months on this continuation pattern right there as well. So you get the idea, and I do think that we're more or less kind of just going to be ranging between about 6,700 on the low side and declining at 72 or 7,100 to the upside. And as long as we are below 7,350, I do believe that this is overall bearish, and higher timeframes have not really done anything to change my mind on this. As we said before, if Bitcoin does regain 7,300 to 7,350, depending upon which time frame that you're using, obviously higher time frame probably can be a little more aggressive, I suppose, on that number. I do think that we'd still have a nice threatening move back up to the $8,000 region, this blue box territory right here, correlated very, very well with our last breakdown from this order block coming in early March, and of course, even more important, our last sort of liquid zone before this breakout from this consolidation before $4,000 move to the upside. So I really like that area. If Bitcoin were to actually take a step up, I think that's I don't think that that's actually very likely. It'd also be kind of correlated with this downtrend resistance trend line coming in right around here, and also our top end of this rising channel or rising wedge, whatever the fuck you want to call it, coming in around the same area as well. So if Bitcoin did take a leg up above there, which again I'm not really looking for, that's where I kind of be targeting, and I'm sure that it lines up with some sort of major massive fib as well. Some like probably the 618. Holy shit, what do you know, the 618 is right around there. All right, so beautiful. Anyways, I do believe that there's more actual pressure on Bitcoin to the downside sooner rather than later, and as long as we are below the 21 exponential moving average, especially on the 2-day, I do believe that it's pressure down. Now here's the thing, it's a 2-day, it's going to take some time to play out, and realistically we do have a death cross right in over here from about a month ago, 29th of March, and slowly but surely you've seen these two moving averages, the green 55 and the purple 200, start to diverge away from each other, which is telling us that the trend is strengthening to the downside. And to me, that becomes more and more obvious and more aggressive as long as we are, especially below the 21, which now all these moving averages have a negative slope. Sorry, I'm referring to the yellow moving average right there. And going back in the annals of history, we do see, a very obvious interplay of how these guys have acted in the past. Back over here in 2018, a very slow but very slow but depressing move to the downside, as you do see these guys get more and more divergence away from each other. And then once Bitcoin loses the 21 on an open and close basis, it's a 50% shot to the downside, right? But it takes about a month and a half from this death cross to this trendy move right here, from early September to early November, perhaps even 2 months, you could say. The time before that we've had this interplay as well is back on over here in 2014, 2015. You see Bitcoin gets a death cross right here, spends some time, basically in a ascending broadening wedge, redistribution formation, kind of similar to our rising channel that we're going on right now. Bitcoin tests up to the 55, even the 200, which is actually around that upper $7,000 region that we just spoke about. So I do think that it's still possible. I want to keep the door open for that. And of course, could Bitcoin just completely flip around the corner right there as well? Possible, yes. Because no, just kidding. Well, maybe, but probably not. At least not in my opinion. And I do think that I think that, but once we saw Bitcoin lose a 21 right here, that's when the big threat of a big downside move was once again postured for 54%. So pretty damn similar to what we're doing right now. The question for me is, does Bitcoin get another run up here to test this region before an inevitable dooms drop, or does it just fall off the face of the earth sooner rather than later? Now, we'll be looking at traditional markets today a lot because I do think that actually offers up a very unique perspective on this. And before we get into that, let's go look at momentum oscillators. 2-day Stokes are obviously down right now. They will not be crossing back up to the upside as long as Bitcoin's below 7,100. So I actually do think that Bitcoin is going to pop back up and test around 7,100, but as long as we're below there, especially on a daily closing basis, I'm just looking for that to be sold into. How long does that take? I don't fucking know. It doesn't really matter. Of course, like for the people who are on like a time schedule, it matters to them. But as far as a trader, I just go levels. And looking at the daily as well, we do see that it'll actually remain to the downs. It's kind of in like a limbo situation right here. It'll remain to the downside though. Technically, it is down as long as we are below 6970-ish regions. So even on the daily, as long as we're below the yellow 21, which is currently at about 6,900, so a little bit more aggressively down below there, it is more pressure down. I'm not so sold on a move like happening today or tomorrow. I think that, looking at historical volatility percentile, that's going to give us the best idea of when this move is likely to occur. And this would be suggesting that we reach an apex relatively soon. This from a 12 hours perspective, actually right around the halving date, if you want to be super exact. I think that's like middle of May, right? And usually these things become extremely likely to bust some nuts right through this trend line and actually start a new expansion phase after about a month and a half of contraction right here. Which would suggest a day, actually a little bit less than a week now, perhaps later this week, like around the end of the weekend, sometime around there is when it's going to become extremely statistically likely to break. So I do want to keep it in that in the back of my mind as well. We do see 12-hour Stokes, which are the gift from the gods, still down apparently, and they will not be crossing up as long as we are below 7150-ish regions. So 7100 to 7150 for the higher term time frame is kind of where I'm looking at for Bitcoin to perhaps retest back into. But as long as we're below there on a closing base, I do believe that this just ultimately gets sold into. And if Bitcoin does regain those areas overall, then more importantly, like 7150 to 7300, that's where things get a little more interesting for perhaps another shot up, another, as they say, scam wick to the upside. But as it's kind of filling itself out right now, I still believe that the blue boxes that we've been looking at for fucking eternity, it seems like, are still very much relevant. This one right here, about 6950. If that one breaks the upside, I'd be looking for another couple $100 move to 71 or around 7100. Again, this is very low time frame stuff. I know I'm going to get shit for that because people are going to say, oh, so you're saying you're looking for a $150 move? Fuck you, Krown. I need a 200 billion X to make $5. Fuck off with your analysis, you bitch. Well, okay. It's like, I don't know what to say to that, man. I understand that this content is focused on traders, not on moon boys who need 2x or fucking 3x or 10x. That's great. I understand different forms of investing, but that's not the scope of this channel. Anyways, 6,700 to the downside, still relevant to myself. Also going to be correlated with the bottom side support of this long-term rising channel right here. Maybe better seen on my Bitfinex chart. Which looks a lot more like an obvious, do you want to call it a rising channel, do you want to call it a rising wedge? Mostly the same thing. Implication is the same, and if we do close below that region, technically there would be a measure move all the way down to about 5,400 5,500-ish region, which I think is better shown on a weekly as around the 200 simple. This would look very, 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 very nasty if we even take out last week's low at 6,500 on Finex. I think it's about 6,450 on other exchanges, so keep an eye out on that. I'm not suggesting this could actually be a descending broadening wedge, which would be long-term bullish. Just an idea that I was playing around with on a stream the other day, but it also would suggest that we are going to test back down to the bottom side of it, which, well, that's pretty damn far away. So I know a lot of people are saying, or the new meme that I'm hearing on crypto Twitter and crypto YouTube is that Bitcoin can't go below 5,000. Well, I don't know, man. I think it can, actually. Weekly Stokes are up, so bullish to the fucking moon, right? Weekly RSI looking like rejection of the exponential and back into the bearish control zone. Don't necessarily like that. And overall, we're looking at, this is quite literally a downtrend here on the weekly as for some perspective giving right now. The weekly is in a downtrend as long as we are, well, technically below 10,000, as this was our last high. But, this right here, is this going to turn into a lower high? If this is going to turn into a lower high, then I do think that at the very least, we're going to come back down and test, 5,900 to 5,700-ish region. And that's a downtrend, so trends are likely to continue, and that only gets worse with the higher time frame that we go. The monthly is a clear downtrend. We haven't been in an uptrend since fucking 2017, 2018. In fact, as you can see, Bitcoin puts in a high right here, low right here, lower high right here, low right here. So technically, it does kind of oscillate around. If you want to be a little bit more exact with it, could say high right here, low right here, low right here, pops back up, just continuation, low right here, high right here, low right here, high right here. And I should say that it's a lower high, lower low, this would be a low, and then obviously we're working on a lower low right here as it is. Doesn't mean that it can't switch back around next month, but I do feel quite confident that Bitcoin's not going to be closing above 7,300 this month. Could we test above there this month? Yeah, perhaps. We already did, but I don't think that we're going to get above there on a closing basis. However, what I do want to say about this is that this wick right here is looking like capitulation, to be fair. And the closer that Bitcoin closes to that 72 to 7,300-ish level this month, the more and more likely I do think it could be that it does just kind of trade sideways here for a while and maybe flips around longer term. But I wouldn't say that from a momentum oscillator perspective. Momentum oscillator is suggesting down right here, rejection of the bullish control zone and down. Monthly RSI looks bizarre. But overall, it's the higher time frames that really make me gear more towards the bearish look on this. 2-day RSI is ugly. It looks like a bearish reset. Bitcoin put in a lower high right here is what it looks like to me. Let's actually go to the daily as well. So the reason why 6,700 is kind of the area for me is it's this little spike low right here that we saw, but it's not just a resolution of a rising channel. It's also it's pattern plus moving averages on the higher term timeframes plus trend. We have a high right here, low right here, lower high right here. Is this going to be a higher low right here or not? Well, that's obviously remains to be seen. But obviously, if Bitcoin comes back down below 6,700, well, that would be around our last spike low right here. So we would quite literally have a downtrend, because then you'd have high, low, lower high, and lower low. Right now, we potentially have a higher low in place, which I do think could lead up for another lower high, perhaps around 7,100 or 7,150-ish region, something like that. I'm not too married to these ideas. I do believe that yesterday we did say that we would very likely bounce off the 6750, the 67. Oh my God, 6750 region. My brain is broken, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. Now here's the thing: as long as Bitcoin stays below 67, oh my God, I cannot speak. I'm sorry. I don't know how to speak. As long as Bitcoin's below the 200 exponential moving average, which is 6950, which of course is our blue box as well. Technically speaking, we will get that 4-hour death cross once again. I don't have an opinion on whether that happens or not. I just have an opinion on, as long as we stay below there. Other than that, I don't really have much to say. However, CMEs are nowhere near getting, they were nowhere near getting golden cross the whole way up. And same thing with Bitcoin yen, although that's once again death crossed after a small stint running over here. So I don't really know what to make of that right now. Realistically, I think that the higher time, the lower time frames more just look like a zigzag. Higher term time frames look like a slow tipping over, which could be resolved, in a week, maybe a month, who knows. Looking at low time frame oscillators, I would say that there is a good chance that we do pop back up above 7,000 and test around 7,100 again. Looking at 4-hour Stokes, they are obviously up. 3-hour Stokes are going to be up as well. 2-hour Stokes very much aggressively up, although going to be dealing with this trend line relatively soon around the edge of the bullish control zone. Don't like that. And hourly are flip-flopping around as well. Same sort of thing going on right here. So I do think that we are going to probably test up here, back up towards 7,100 in the short term. Looking at the reverse Stoke indicator cross, I would like to just see where that kind of aligns for the hourly 6850-ish region, for the 2-hour 6860, for the 3-hour 6830, for the 4-hour 6830. So these are all kind of coming from the same area. I know that this sounds a little bit silly because you're like, Krown, do you expect any difference between a 3-hour and a 4-hour? Actually, well, sometimes yes, and usually when they all kind of line up with each other, there's some nice moves to be had for the short terms. So I do think that Bitcoin probably has another momentous move back up to like 7,100, maybe 7,150, something like that. And then I'd like to reassess the lower term timeframes. But overall, if Bitcoin were to break to the downside, as we've been saying, I don't think it's going to be a straight shot down. I don't even think it's going to break down like today or tomorrow. But, you know, bounces along the way, very, 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 very likely. This area right here, I'd have my eyes on 6,450, 6,100, 60 or 50. 850, or let's call it 5900, and then all the way down to about 5500ish region, in line with the measure move that we saw earlier. Anyways, let's get on to the fun part of this, because fuck this amazing altruistic technology. Actually, let's go check out really quickly the expected moves chart, just for reference. Looking at a daily right here, looking at the medium time frame range. Technically speaking, the upside resolution is very, 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 very low. We've seen that go from like deep in the 40% region over the last week to now below 5%, technically at a 4.89%, and the lower target of 6,700, which we could maybe even move it down to like 6,650 if you want to be more conservative. But or you know what? Let's actually take it at the low, that last closing low that we saw. I think it's like 6,620, just to see what the probability of even getting there is, or closing below would be 16.5%. So we have seen that slowly but go up. Of course, as we were just looking at, it was like in the 0.25%, or sorry, not a 0.25%, but 25% overall for 6,700. But again, I don't think that Bitcoin's going to break down today. If it does, it'll be helped likely by the traditional market. So let's go check out. I do want to check how these guys are squeezing right now. Let's use some future bars and neutral to slightly up. So yeah, I do think that we're probably going to test a little bit of short-term upside today in Bitcoin. All right, so let's go check out really, really quickly the Mr. Buterin. Mr. Buterin looks like he wants to spike back up, maybe back up towards like 181 region. The weekly on Mr. Buterin is actually the one thing that makes me think that we actually could move up quite aggressively here. The weekly on Buterin is decent. I don't see any like major glaring issues with it. The 2 days a little bit problematic, I suppose. I would be looking for overall another move back down to 163.77. Or it doesn't need to be too exact, but three day showing that we probably do pop back up and test around 180 first. So I think that we're gonna get one more drive higher, Buterin to 180, Bitcoin to like 71 or maybe 72, something like that, and then as long as another top is put in right there, well, that's just gonna be another lower high for all these guys as far as I'm concerned. Momentum oscillators are already kind of turning down on Mr. Buterin, which I do not like. In fact, this one getting more aggressive, which is usually not a good sign. It's usually a loss of momentum. But in the meantime, does it test a little bit higher here? Probably, yeah. Looking at Mrs. Litecoin, definitely the weakest of the big three, or I don't even know if they're the big three anymore. What are the top three shitcoins nowadays? I don't know. But likely you're just going to follow what the rest of them do. The weekly is absolutely atrocious, heavily bearish here on the weekly. And I think that we're even going to be looking at a death cross on the weekly soon. Or maybe that was on Buterin. Do I not have it in here? Yeah, I do have it. I should have it. Where is it? Why did I think that there was going to be... Oh, because I'm on a monthly. That's why. The monthly is heavily bearish. The weekly is also heavily bearish as well. Death cross and last move to the upside was rejected. If the rest of the market wants to get going, can this thing move back up to like $46? Yeah, I think so. But the second that it takes out last week low at 37.93, I'd be looking for a move back down to 35.5 and likely lower after that. Again, another downtrend. I mean, at the end of the day, the trend is your friend until the end of the fucking trend, huh? That looks healthy. Let's actually look what it really looks like. This is what the real chart looks like. I mean, explain. Wow, bullish. Let's do Ripple. Whoa, super bullish. You know what this means, baby. Oh yeah, 1,500%. Easy. We're going to make crypto trading easy. Jesus Christ. Sorry, for all the new people here, you probably think that I'm complete moron and asshole. Well, I apologize. I feel like I haven't been able to go to the gym for the last 5 or 6 weeks now, and I think that that's making me more of an asshole. And I apologize about that. I really sincerely do apologize about it, because sometimes I listen back to these videos. I'm like, fucking hell, man. I sound like a cunt. Anyways, looking at this right here, I want to go check out traditional marks now. NAS futures looking for a little bit of a short pop up, but I do believe, well, we did hit our downside target at 83.20. Hold on. When did that happen? Yeah, that happened yesterday. Okay, cool. So yeah, probably going to spend a little bit of time playing out, another anemic rally. I think maybe back up to like 8,600. Let's check out E-mini futures. E-mini futures look pretty much the same thing, but I do believe that we saw the big break yesterday. And I do believe that ultimately this will head back down to the 382 after a nice rejection at the 618 back around here. I'm sure that this is also probably correlated with the point of control if I had to guess. Oh, what do you know? Holy shit. Just to retest the point of control and down. Amazing, right? Sometimes that TA mumbo jumbo actually works, huh? So yeah, we did say that there was going to be or likely to be a down week this week in traditional markets. I do think that this one has more downside to go after the short rally, maybe back up to the 0.5 at 27.85 region. But as long as this thing's below the 55, which is declining from about 28.15 right now to the downside, I would say that ultimately over the next week or two, I do think that we're going to come back down to 26.50ish region. That's probably, if I had to guess, the 30 simple on the daily, which I do really like for a long-term trend. And actually that still is a negative slope, which is not good. And it's a little bit lower than that at 2,600, but close enough is close enough. Probably does curl around at that point as well. That would be an obvious area for, at the very least, a short and medium time frame bounce, and then can use that for a more longer-term price action. I'm very much split on whether traditional markets have bottomed or not, kind of in the same way that I am for Bitcoin as well. But I do think that we do have some medium-term downside here overall. Short-term probably pops back up a little bit. As we said, maybe back up to like 27, what is this area? 2780 to 2790-ish region. So 278 to 279 on spot. But going back to SPY here, this was a pretty nasty close, I think, yesterday. And I do think that it is going to be setting up for overall continuation back down to about mid to low 260s region is where I'll be looking towards. Momentum also is all turning down at the same time. It looks like, daily Stokes down and following this trend line since 24th of December, by the way. That was over here. So getting this high, this high, this high, and this is the next time that we actually tested it alongside a test of 618, alongside a test of the point of control, alongside RSI breaking below the exponential, putting in some actually no, it's not, well, a little bit of hidden bearish divergence to be fair, but this is to me overall bearish, especially on declining volume in this rising wedge. We can make the same sort of measure move, probably points us back down towards like 255, 260-ish region, something like that. So if traditional markets do turn down sooner rather than later, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to follow, or maybe Bitcoin leads. They're going to be moving in the same direction more or less if you look at a higher term time frame. At least that's what history has shown. Let's go check out gold. What's gold doing? Gold being a little bit weird, obnoxious here, but I do think that it pops back up to above 1700-ish region. I really want to see the monthly though. I can't make any sort of good analysis. I don't make any good sort of analysis. No. I don't really have a good idea on this for the medium or long term, until we close this monthly. If we close anywhere above 1650, I do believe that is still bullish long term, and it will head back up to 1800-ish region or continue on to there, I suppose is better terminology. But I don't feel so confident with about 8 days left to go in the month. How many days are in this month? Eight more days, not bad. So we are getting close to crunch time here, but as it is right now, an obvious uptrend. So this one is kind of acting as the light in the dark times, I suppose, for now. As long as the weekly's closing above 1670 region, I'm overall looking for more upside to be tested. So fair enough. I don't really have much to say about it other than that. I really want to see the monthly, but it looks to be holding in a decent area right now. I know a lot of people are very, very bearish looking at this as a shooting star dildo right here, and they do have a point, but I wouldn't be looking at that as actionable for like legitimate downside as long as it's above about 1620-ish region. So it's a big range right now. It's not all that helpful, and I totally understand that if someone's going to say in the comments, "Fuck you, Krown. It's too wide. Fair enough. I understand. Looking at CMEs, is there anything that we haven't seen on spot price action that's being shown here? looks about the same to me. Looks a little bit more obviously likely to test the upside. In fact, this one looks like it's going to gun for 7150-ish region, 7140. And there is a little bit of a price premium, a very, very small price premium between CMEs and spot price action. So that'd probably be spot somewhere right around 7100-ish region. But overall, same sort of thing going on right here as well. We do have declining tops coming in as it stands. The 4-hour 200x Benjamin average is going to be right around that 7150-ish region. And this is starting to shape up a little bit more like a descending triangle. And Bitcoin loves its triangles. So yeah, I think that's about it for this video. I do want to make this one a little bit shorter just to reflect the fact that I don't think all that much has changed. Short term, very short term, I do think Bitcoin's going to test up here. I think it's probably going to test up to 7100. If it does regain 7100, I suppose extend that another $150 higher. But realistically, my medium and higher term time frame analysis did not change as long as we are below 7300 and above 6700 on a more aggressive stance. If it does regain 73 or 7350, on a 4-hour, 12-hour respectively, reverse that around, 12-hour above 73, 4-hour above 7350, I would look for an extension actually significantly higher, another 600, 700 bucks, up to about 8,000. By the same token, anywhere below 6,700 on even like a 12-hour dildo closure, or a 4-hour below, let's call it, anywhere below like 6,650 on a more conservative estimate, I would look for the inevitable house of cards to fall on over. As we did speak about the full on measure move, we actually did break that area. It does bring us back down to about 5,500, 5,400-ish region. I do believe that there's be bounces along the way, potentially reversals too. I wouldn't want to see it in real time, but overall, to me, it feels like we're in one of those areas where Bitcoin's putting in like a long form consolidation, boring the shit out of everyone, and then when no one's looking and when everyone's bullish, because there's your move for about 5 minutes. Anyways, that's going to do it for right now. Like I said, I may be on Twitch later today. I may not be. I'm not so sure just yet. But I would like to wish you well. I would like to apologize for all of the emotional outbreaks and bursts, and for any time that I may have offended anyone. I don't particularly intend to offend anyone. But I do understand that sometimes with my lazy expressions, I don't know, it could get misinterpreted, could get misheard, and I do apologize for that. Anyways, that's gonna do it for right now. Take care, and until next time.